A wee bit of excitement happened here where there was an event in Cornwall, pulled the Chancellor of Cornwall and the Marshal with both royals on him down into Devon and Cornwall. Now, this is his strong area. Given that he has about as much strength as Warwick, he was able to play Holland, charged in. Warwick decided rather than fight a battle, which he may have the edge, he has some combat cards available, but he'd rather use a free move card and run towards the border. On the other hand, Berkeley chose not to play any cards to chase. And, you know, he's forced them to expend a card, essentially, and that's it. What else do we have? We have that boat I wanted to move. I should get about that. Where's my other leader? My other leader's the Plantagenet here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, here's another event from the new cards. Treachery, a card removed from hand. That makes you lose one of your crown cards. And that's kind of a potent thing because you end up holding on to these most of the time and not wanting to play them because it helps to throw down troops or offices or whatever just before or in the midst of a battle to gain you the best edge there. Well, this card makes that kind of an undesirable effect, right? Because you could lose those cards if you hold on to them too much. Anyway, that's what's going to happen to our Warwick and Margaret faction. Okay, well, a dangerous situation arose where the Marshal and Mowbray and the Bishop of Norwich, who's the Marshal, were all called into this area. Well, Margaret ended up failing her survival check, and she's dead now, which means Edward is the primary Lancastrian heir. We're at the point where almost we're out of Lancastrians. All we've got left is Beaufort. And we're not too far, to tell you the truth, from the Yorkists being all in one hand. So we could be hitting the end game here with the loss of leaders, and it's actually not taken very long. One of the other great signs of the end game is here. The crown deck's empty. All the cards are out. That means you've got to fight. You got to pick things off to get things. So that makes people like Scrope here particularly at risk. And you know, I don't even want to move him here. I just moved him. He's going to stay hiding down here in the woods. Suffolk left him, is over in Ireland with that, and La Rose is going to go pick him up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could have a fight there if we're not careful, so we'll stand back. We're a little afraid of a naval battle. Honestly, we kind of want to land to avoid one. Slowing our progress down because these are much bigger ships. They got 3-to-1 odds on me. I don't want to risk that. But now we're in an interesting position. We've got a sole king here. He can call a parliament somewhere that's not terribly safe to everyone. Say either here at Bodmin or maybe down in Penzance where it's tough to get out of. And perhaps, if he's lucky, be able to pull away some of the advantages out of this deck. Of course, he doesn't get all the cards if nobody shows, but it's kind of an interesting option. And I think he's going to do something because he happens to hold a writ. He's only got one, but that's enough to pull this off. And at the very least, you know, he can stick somebody in Cornwall whom he can hunt using the writ. Well, indeed, there's a parliament at Penzance, and you can see when there's a parliament, there's way too many people for the spaces, or too many stacks. Calculated and tabulated out the votes after laying down the additional cards that I wanted to have in play. Basically, all the factions except the Sun want a piece of the action. And they think that they should be able to get that, and that the Yorkists, who don't have a lot of spaces available, will probably be willing to deal quite a few out in order to get some additional strength for themselves. They need the additional strength. Of course, there is the threat that Berkeley could use this to make some attacks in Cornwall, but people can run home and be safer there. The spread out forces mean there won't be the big stacks that can just siege a castle no matter what, at least easily. But when the vote totals come out, we got 131 Commons votes total, and Gate, or royal supporters of the Yorks, have the advantage there, but they still need quite a bit. So if you look, Sun Log, that's 50-61, and Acorn can actually control this between them, and obviously Boar could be thrown in instead of Acorn in that case, in case issues don't resolve well. On the other hand, for the House of Lords, the Sun actually have the advantage, and it's only 37 votes. They could actually ally with either Acorn or Log, and either one of them's got to be in their coalition for Commons and get control. So this is a dangerous situation. If our Yorkists can't get an agreement, now they think they should be able to, because this is just a massive, massive power base here. But there's some threat, especially from Log. They perhaps prefer not having Log in the game with the Duke of Somerset there, the Beaufort family, who represent, of course, the Tudors or other branches of, I think, John of Gaunt's house. Anyway, I think we're going to have the whole deck available. There's a lot of nobles here, so we'll see how this all... how it falls out, essentially. Is there going to be a single vote? There's no card play to trick Parliament here. You've got the votes you've got lying on the table, basically. Well, essentially the Gate player made a proposal that was just exclude the Lancastrian support side, but give everybody else something. So Greystoke got an earldom. Over here we got an earldom for Acorn, and also Constable of the Castle. Over here on this weak guy, he got the Steward of the Household. But here he got, I think, an earldom in the Treasury. No, he got the Treasury and the Bishop of Carlisle. So troops north as well as a bishop. The bonus for the leading player, as it were, was to take a good earldom. Ooh, Earl of Westmoreland was not the one that was handed out. I believe it's going to be Salisbury up here. I screwed up. And I kind of got confused at one point and handed everything out and ended up with a job only for him. So there was an agreement to balance things out with a transfer. But I don't think he would have transferred the stronger position if he could help it. Anyway, he also picked up the other archbishop, which means there are now three bishops available in other people's hands, but nobody has two of them. So the chance of crowning another royal heir is kind of low. It would require an alliance of some sort. And now people have to decide what they want to do in terms of going home. What's safe, what's not. Obviously, Arundel can just leave. He's got no interest in sticking around for this. But some of the others, keeping their faction together may be a stronger position than worrying. So, for example, for the main Lancastrian force, they're not really too worried unless everybody gangs up on them. And then how would they divide those spoils, right? That would be an ugly debate. So somebody's got to be given kind of the command of the force. It would be unwise, I think, for that kind of alliance to try to take somebody down. Although this guy is so powerful that there may be some desire to split the force. We'll see. But he thinks keeping his entire faction together is the strongest possibility. Talbot up here, for example, he doesn't care about an alliance right now. He wants to just survive as long as he can because maybe he can build up some cards. But it's a hard position once you're in that with only one noble or whatever, because he's only got 80 strength points. He's got to find something to pick on, pick it off, like maybe somebody like Cromwell or Herbert, get them into the crown deck and then draw them. And that's, that's sort of the nature of the game, is to kill off a single noble who's weak and then maybe get an advantage. But that's almost impossible, to tell you the truth. So I don't know, there's a point where you might want to consider just resigning from the game and tossing it in, and we'll see how it goes. He might well want to do that if he loses his leader again or something. All right, well, I'll figure out where everybody else goes, and then, well, we'll finish up his turn. Well, everybody pretty much split out of there except for 2 powers. Richard's force and the big one. And here's the problem. That big one's bigger. And it's significantly bigger. Combined, Acorn and Gate were about the same strength. And there was kind of a, hey, look, don't split up, we can take him. And I'll tell you what, you can have, Edward will split whatever other possible gains we might get, but for the most part, we're going to capture someone, right? That's great. And I'll give you Edward to resolve. You can crown him if you can, or kill Edmund, my son, or whatever, but it'll work out. But, it doesn't, this guy's a little stronger than him over in Cornwall, so it's kind of like, well, okay, so we win, and then I'm still weaker, and I don't have really any combat ability. I have these French foot soldiers, I got to go get them. So it's not to my advantage. Well, now he's in trouble. Now they can't fight right away, but he can position himself somewhere in Cornwall where it's going to be tough for Berkeley's forces to get out of there. Does that mean he wants to split up? I think so. The problem with that is this is his strength. This is where he's strongest. But he's got no choice but to get out of there. And so that's where we are now. There's no cards to draw, so that's the end of his turn. And with this big parliament, we took up a lot of time. So I'm going to load this one up.